July 25th, 1951. Hello, my pretty. Right now, I'm looking forward to seeing my own sweet sons after more than a year of forced separation. Even though it's an entire week away, the tension is mounting. I want so for this to be a real positive experience for the boys. You know, I just got a wonderful idea. The children will get a kick out of it. I'll make pages of pictures of trains, boats, and buses. And I'm positive Michael, and especially Robbie, will like them. What do you think of this idea?
Ha! You can't make me jealous with your boats and trains. I have an envelope full of rare specimens collected with painstaking care by that intrepid hunter of wild instincts, namely your wife. How sweet, really, and thoughtful of you to have hit on such a pleasant plan. It's just the thing, particularly for Robbie, who he thinks may be a little shy and strange with us. Oh yes, if Michael neglects to question me as to the form of the death penalty, this lovely job will fall on you. In which case, answer him briefly but unequivocally that it is painless electrocution, which we feel, of course, will never come to pass. You can explain it in terms of a highly magnified electric shock. Believe me, my loved one, children are what their parents truly expect them to be. If we can face the thought of our intended execution without terror, so will they.
Dearest love of my life, when the sound of your voices singing drifted down to the cell block, my tensions began to vanish. Robert's shrieking was music to my ears. After lunch, I went into the council room and the kids were hiding behind the door. When I hugged them, they seemed so small and far away. I choked up, and my eyes teared. And Michael kept repeating, "Daddy, your voice has changed." After a couple of minutes, I was back on an even keel. A round of kissing and hugging, and then Robbie sat on my lap. His peaked, thin face, ringed eyes, looked up at me, and he said, "Daddy, why you no come home?"
This picture of my bewildered, sad, fat-faced baby with the haunted eyes and serious mien is a sight I cannot put out of my mind. And Michael, with his deceptively cheerful demeanor and flippant chatter, doesn't exactly allay my anxiety either. I experienced such a stab of mother longing that I could howl like a she-wolf who has had its young forcibly torn from her.
In mid-1951, Julius's mother, Sophie Rosenberg, is well enough to take Michael and Robbie. They leave the Hebrew Children's Home and go to live with their bubby in an apartment overlooking the Harlem River. Michael attends 3rd grade in the New York City public school system.
October 14th, 1951. My dearest sweetheart, I don't know if you heard of a disagreeable incident that happened to Michael. He had gone to the house of a boy he met and told this kid's mother about us. She chased him out of the house.
I am sick at heart for our dear, innocent Michael. I weep bitterly and reflect sadly upon the sort of inhumanity that can bring itself so brutally, punish an unprotected little boy who has done no harm to anyone.
February 15th, 1952. Most precious heart of mine. With the turmoil and excitement of the children's visit and the rushing developments in our case, I didn't have time to tell you that your face was beaming, that you looked very lovely, and that I love you very much. Oh, dearest, it was wonderful on the children's last visit to live together again as one happy family. The boys are making progress. As long as we do the right thing by our children and by the good people of the world, nothing else matters.
Ethel and Julius's lawyers take their case to the Circuit Court of Appeals.
February 26, 1952. My dear one, last night at 10, I heard the shocking news. It is difficult for me to make any comment beyond an expression of horror at the shameless haste with which the government appears to be pressing for our liquidation. My heart aches for the children. Unfortunately, they are old enough to have heard for themselves, and no matter what amount of control I am able to exercise, my brain reels, picturing their terror.
In the summer of 1952, the difficulties of the boys living with their frail and elderly grandmother necessitate another move, this time to the home of family friends in Toms River, New Jersey. The boys adjust positively to this change, but developments in their parents' legal fight are not going so well.
October 23rd, 1952. Dearest Michael and Robert, Mommy told you the news of what is happening in her last letter to you. And like all things, the news isn't always good. You, my precious sons, must continue to study, play, have fun, and keep well. The news of your accomplishments and your doings warms my heart and makes me happy to know that you are in very good hands.
June 17, 1953. My dearest darlings, this is the process known as sweating it out. And it's tough, that's for sure. Maybe you thought I didn't feel like crying too when we were hugging and kissing goodbye. I took the hard way instead of the easy because I love you more than myself. And because you needed that love far more than I needed the relief of crying.
June 18, 1953. Dear Manny, I have drawn up a last will and testament so that there can be no question about the fact that I want you to handle all our affairs and be responsible for the children. Ethel completely concurs in this request and is in her own hand attesting to it. Our children are the apple of our eye, our pride and most precious fortune. Love them with all your heart and always protect them in order that they grow up to be normal, healthy people. I love my sons profoundly.
June 19, 1953. Dearest sweethearts, my most precious children. Only this morning it looked like we might be together after all. Now that this cannot be, I want so much for you to know all that I have come to know. Unfortunately, I may write only a few simple words. The rest of your own lives must teach you, even as mine taught me.
At first, of course, you will grieve bitterly for us, but you will not grieve alone. That is our consolation, and it must eventually be yours. Eventually, too, you must come to believe that life is worth living.
Be comforted that even now, with the end of ours slowly approaching, that we know this with a conviction that defeats the executioner.
Your lives must teach you, too, that good cannot really flourish in the midst of evil. That freedom and all the things that go to make up a truly satisfying and worthwhile life must sometimes be purchased very dearly. Be comforted, then, that we were serene and understood with the deepest kind of understanding that civilization had not yet as yet progressed to the point where life did not have to be lost for the sake of life.
And that we were comforted in the sure knowledge that others would carry on after us. We wish we might have had the tremendous joy and gratification of living our lives out with you. Your daddy, with me, in these momentous hours, sends his heart and all the love that is in it for his dearest boys. Always remember that we were innocent and could not wrong our conscience. We press you close and kiss you with all our strength. Lovingly,
Daddy.